Welcome everybody to Tyromper's No Limit podcast. Today, I am so fired up. We got one of my buddies on here, Caleb. This is a man that's the founder of the Stock Pickers Club, a man that is working exclusively with Zach Hommel to change men's lives all across the country, a man that's an investor, outdoor enthusiast, an awesome guy, a man that literally has one of the greatest beards I've ever seen in person. This is Caleb. What's up, brother? Welcome to the pod. How you doing today, man?
What's up, Tyler? Thanks for having me on, man. Such an honor to be here, dude. I'm pumped.
Oh, brother, I appreciate you taking the time out, man. You got a lot of wisdom to share with people. I know I want to get into so much today about a lot of, the financial stuff and all the outdoor stuff you're doing as well. But can you kind of give people just a quick 1 minute, 2 minute intro, kind of a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Caleb Gregory. I am from West Virginia, the great state of West Virginia. On the East Coast, for those of you who don't know, we are our own state. We're not part of Virginia. But yeah, I just 29 years old, so enjoying the last year of my 20s. I just really find a joy in living life to the fullest, right? I love investing. I love diving into different things. I love being outdoors and just kind of adventure, right? I just love to live life to the fullest and enjoy things, right? So it's all about this love of investing just came from a path to owning your time and that sort of thing. So I'm just all about maximizing your time and doing the things you love, and not spending too much time doing things you don't enjoy. So I've just tried to mold my life to meet those standards, and I'm still adjusting every day. But that's a little bit about me and just how I try to live life.
That's awesome, brother. You're a man that I definitely admire. You're always outside doing all these things. And this is one thing that I love so much about Twitter and this community is guys like you kind of taught me when I first started getting really intentional about it many years ago. It's a cheat code to life, man. This passive income and creating income. You don't need to sell your time for money all the time. When was that light bulb moment for you? Can you kind of take me on your journey through investing and how you got really into that?
Yeah, it started really slow in a sense that I just had I got a job out of college, and I said, how can my initial goal was pretty conservative. I'm just like, how can I retire at like 50? So I just started buying stocks that pay dividends. For those who don't know, you can buy stocks that will pay you each quarter. So every 3 months you get a check for them. The more shares you own, the bigger the check you get from them. It doesn't grow super quickly. Like, it takes a lot of concentration. You got to spend years building this income stream. So that's kind of where it started, right? I just started pouring all my spare money into stocks like that. I'm like, even if it just gets me out a decade early. And then as I matured a little bit, I was in my younger 20s. As I just matured and got a little older and kind of started feeling this entrepreneurial spirit within me, I was like, man, like 50 ain't gonna cut it, 60 ain't gonna cut it. We gotta do this while we're in our 20s, right? So then that's when like more of like developing these streams that really are hard to do in a traditional way. So you just got to take a little risk. It comes with risk and risk versus reward. So when I realized that, I started creating things, building things. Some failed, some worked, and we lean into what works and kind of get rid of what failed, or reevaluate and try it in a different way. Whatever makes the most sense for what you're trying to accomplish. So I started trying different things that I enjoyed, and have dropped things along the way, but it was just about figuring out how I could get paid while I slept and just optimizing that.
Yeah, that's the hugest thing. That first time you get a dollar that comes into your account and you're like, holy cow, I didn't sell my time for it. I was just sleeping or playing at the park with my kids, and now money's hitting. Like, it's such a different feeling because you realize, hey, if I can make $1 doing that, I can replicate it and I can make a life off of this. And so yeah, you've got me into the dividend stocks now too, man. I'm growing my nest. It's so fun to even when you're starting out, I'm pretty new at it, but you're seeing, dude, you made $80 last month just for doing nothing, just owning these
Yeah.
stocks. As it starts to snowball, you can really see, man, if you're just throwing, 1,000 or whatever you can afford per month into these things, it really, man, they compound and build on each other. Is that something you're still into too? The dividend stocks, you're still doing into that as well?
Yeah, so I still have all my original investments. At some point last year, I really pivoted out of new money going into those and kind of focused on crypto.
Yeah.
So bought a lot of Bitcoin in 2020, started buying in 2017. It's had great appreciation. Since then, it's done well, and really now just exploring other areas of crypto that present opportunity, right? Such a new and emerging asset class. So I just try to look for opportunity, and I try to be very this tribalism pops up and all kinds of different things. I try to not view anything through a certain lens and just say, how is this going to either give me more money, which in return gives me more time? Because I've never been too big on material things. Like, I live in one of the poorest states in the country, like super cheap for me to live. I don't have a huge house. I don't have new vehicles, but like, I have my time, and that's what's important. So my wife, we have no kids, but my wife and I can do what we want kind of when we want. And that's such a blessing. And that's how I've always wanted to live my life. So, so now every financial decision that I make is just further ensuring that I can continue to do that.
That's awesome. When did you hit that spot? Because you worked at corporate then, I guess, coming out of college for a couple of years. And then when did you hit that spot where you said, hey, you know what? I don't need to trade my time for money anymore. Me and my wife can kind of, we've created these systems now. Hey, if we want to go hiking, or I want to do a podcast with Ty Thursday at 10 o'clock, I can just do it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So like, it just kind of came at a right time, right? I kind of got the company that I was a part of got acquired. I got a short-term contract with them. Basically went through that contract, and just when it kind of finished up, we got through the transition of the company being acquired. I could have stayed on or I could leave, and I decided to leave. I had worked hard enough to have, like you said, this nest egg set aside where I'm like, I don't have to work right now. Let me spend a few months creating and building. And so that's when I got really active on social. And I think no matter what you do, building influence and a following in an authentic way, right? Just showing how you live your life and presenting it in an attractive way. So none of this fake stuff, but just like displaying your life digitally and letting others follow along. So I decided I wanted to do that. And I started that. It was a New Year's resolution, 2020.
Nice.
So I had the benefit of a 3-month head start before this COVID shutdown stuff happened, which brought a lot of people onto social media platforms that maybe hadn't been on in a while or hadn't been on ever before. Everybody was stuck at home. So I benefited largely from having that established before that happened. So my following just blew up real quick, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just pivot this into a business. And I've just kind of created many different lines of revenue from that. And I've dropped some along the way. I've added some along the way, but it just really played out to be something that right place, right time. Super thankful for that opportunity. And now it's just trying to cherish every day of it and not take it for granted or advantage, and just try to continue to have mutual exchanges where the things that I provide are quality and clients are happy, but also I get paid for doing these things, and it's a good mutual exchange. So
that's the cheat code for life right there, man. When you feel like you're providing value and you're helping people, because I know that's your business now. I found you through Zach Hommel, man. I know we love a lot, man. Zach was saying Caleb's taught me how to create this new stream of revenue with options trading. I know he kind of took your course, and now I see you helping other guys, like Jack Bly, a lot of my buddies on Twitter, like every Monday I'm making $600 no matter. You got this cheat code that you're teaching people. Yeah, it's so cool. Like, can you kind of talk about that process then of what that feels like to help people and then to see their lives change and to give them that kind of freedom too, man? I mean, it's got to be a great feeling, right?
Man, it's such a blessing. Just to be able to implement it in your own life, but then to share it with other people. And everybody's coming from different walks, right? For some people, this is just their 12th stream of income, right? And it's just another drop in the bucket to their journey. But to some people, this is just their first stream of income outside of their 9 to 5, outside of their job, outside of whatever they do. So adding a couple $100 a week is a big deal, right? So like, I love every single client, but the ones who it's genuinely life-changing and shows that it's always so rewarding. And that's what I always tell people is you have to know your craft, right? Because we are subject to the whims of the market and the whims of kind of the Fed and what they do. Like, there's a lot of nuances. So it's like, you have to be able to pivot on the spot and adjust to things changing in real time. So I pride myself on getting everybody positive returns, but then also learning. And so they don't need me. My goal is after 1 month, I never want to have them pay for more than 1 month of consulting, because after 1 month, I want them to be self-sufficient. And if they are, then they go out and, they spread their joy and happiness of it. And, it's a cycle that just never ends, because if I continue to make my clients happy, they spread the word, and it can just be a never ending cycle, and everybody's happy. Everybody's making more money, and we're all happy.
That's amazing, man. I love that. Where you said you actually don't have clients then for more than a month at a time. That's your strategy around your business. Then you just
Exactly.
In that 1 month, they have full access to you in that month, and then you teach them, and then you teach a man how to fish, then he can go catch his own fish, right?
Exactly. And there are instances where I've worked with clients for more than 1 month, but the way I see it is that if they aren't where they at in 1 month, then it's on me. And then we're going to take whatever time necessary after that to get them up to speed. So
Nice.
one paid month, and then that's it. And then from there, we're going to make sure things are where they need to be, and we're going to work together until they are. So
that's awesome. And in my coaching too, when I first started, I thought, you know what, man, I put a limit on 4 months. So I said, you know what, I can teach you these systems, these routines. I can get your mindset different. I can help your habits. And you know what, a lot of my clients will lose 30, 40 pounds in these 4 months. And they might have a goal of 80 or 90, but I'm like, you're not going to pay me after 4 months, man. Because after that, if I can't teach you what you need to know, and we haven't created those systems, and you don't have your own set of accountability from there, I don't want this to be like a Biggest Loser type thing where I just, then they come back a year from now, like, nah, this has got to be sustainable. And like, again, I'll help you if you need for free, but no money's going to exchange hands after that 4 months.
Yeah.
I feel the same as you, man. I just want to teach people how to do this on their own. And that's kind of something I learned from Zach. I don't know if maybe you can give us some lessons you learned from Zach too, working so close with them, but he kind of has taught me that, man, you got to teach these people how to do it on their own, or they're just going to rely on you constantly. And so that's been a big lesson for me too, man. What's it like working with Zach all the time? I know you guys do retreats together now and all this stuff, man.
Yeah, dude, he's got so much good energy and good vibes. Such an awesome guy. He and I, so our original connection was I just booked him for a coaching call, and we ended up having a lot in common. We're from the same state. We're both from West Virginia. Similar blue collar upbringings. He was a coal miner. I never went underground, but I worked on coal mines, bringing new power poles. I was essentially a lineman. We set power poles and brought power into new portions of mines that were going up. And that's what I did in my summers, like between college and stuff like that. So like we came from this blue collar state, this blue collar background, right? So like we had a lot in common from there. And then our method just blended really well. We saw how what each of us teach could kind of be a complement to the other. So we got this retreat coming up in January. It's in Arizona. I've never been to Arizona, so I'm excited. As you can tell, here in the East Coast, I'm getting pretty white. I need some sun. I need to get the tan back. I haven't had good sun here for a good 6 weeks now. So we're pretty much booked out. We have 1 spot available. So shameless plug. There's 1 spot left, but essentially we're combining what we do, right? His mind, body, spirit stuff. And then I'm going to take the finances and help guys, because when you dig into it, right, I know you work with guys, Ty, like we face a few huge struggles, right? They are struggles within the mind. There's struggles with our image, our body, spirituality, and then finances. Like those are 4 big things. And we felt like together, I brought in kind of the financial element to the picture. Together, we're just trying to put together a retreat that guys, they come with all different backgrounds and all different they're starting from all different areas. But if we can get them pointed in the right direction in some cases, or just set other guys on fire in some cases and reignite that spark we want to take guys and level up together. And man, community is so important. I've learned that this year. And it's just such an important thing. So we're hoping as we roll out this first one in January, we can't wait to kind of work with these guys and do all this together in the Arizona sun. So
that's awesome. And I'll link below if you still have 1 spot left. I'm going to link all of Caleb's stuff below on this podcast too. The Stock Pickers Club, all of your info. And then I'll link that retreat down below too, man, because I can attest to anybody who's worked with, as a guy Zach literally changed my life, man. I mean, working with him one-on-one, that guy just changed my life, man. And I know you know all about that too.
Same, man.
Yeah. What a cool thing that you guys are doing, man, to send people home with this knowledge. And, I mean, that's impactful, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been, life changes quickly, and I'm always amazed and feel so blessed at just like people God brings into my life, and just this community that's kind of been built on Twitter, right? I've had the fortunate pleasure of meeting probably 10 people in person now, just as I travel about the States. And I know sometime in 22, I'm going to come hang out with you for a couple days.
Yeah,
And,
that'll be
and
fun.
yeah, so it's like just, especially being from a small town, like it's hard to find community and like-mindedness in a small town, especially when you kind of grow up different, in a sense that, I left the blue collar stuff and that's mostly what it is. And I got nothing against it at all. But people get stuck in these same cycles, and these broken cycles. And it's hard to see, it's hard to just watch people break their back for years on years and kind of fade into lives of just alcoholism and drug abuse and like things that really haunt, especially where I'm at in Appalachia. And it's not the whole area. It's an area filled with great people, but it's an area that's really just financially stressed and things like that. So
Hmm.
wanting to be able to have impact in my own hometown, but then also finding people across the country who think the same and act the same and do the same things is a fun thing. It's just fun to connect.
Yeah, it's been the ultimate cheat code, I think, is, what Twitter and our community brings is, it takes away that proximity, right? In the past, it was
Yeah,
just, you're kind of friends with the people you lived around and things like that. Well, now we can join the like-minded men all over the world and have this awesome community where everybody just cheers everyone on. We build each other up. We all learn from each other. It's like no other place on earth, man. I feel so grateful and blessed to be like a part of this community every day, man. It's powerful.
yeah, same, man. It's such a great place, and always bringing me to level up and try different things and try hard things. I mean, I sitting in a a, a snow runoff on the top of a mountain in the Rockies in like 35-degree water, thinking, what am I doing? And it's just like, these are things guys from Twitter are doing. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let's try it. And it's hard and it's painful, but I did have Zach there yelling at me to stay in it. It's just,
Man, I always tell my wife the day that I hang out with Zach, there's probably a 15% chance I don't come back. I'm like, I'm probably gonna have me trying, like, hey, let's just see if we can jump over this canyon or something.
yeah.
All right, man, let's go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's so true, man. It's just like, but it's like doing that in a community. It was on one of his retreats, and so many awesome dudes that I went with. Joey was there, who you had
Yep.
on your podcast not long ago.
Yeah.
We all just got in this pool of water that was so cold. I don't know how cold it was, but it was cold to me. And we stayed there for a few minutes and just like fought through it together. And yeah, it's just like trying these new things. And like it was hard, but then you get to the other side and just the feeling of accomplishment, the feeling of the physical attributes of this, how refreshed you felt after something like that, man. It's hard to put to words like what it does for you.
Yeah, there's so many things here I want to unpack. One, a big one is sort of, you have to unlearn a lot of what society teaches you, because everyone that I knew and what I tried to do for about 34, 35 years of my life was just try and be comfortable, work a good job. This is what they tell you to do. You get a good
Yep.
job, you get that retirement, that maybe that pension if you're lucky, you put in your 35 years, 40 years,
Yeah.
whatever it is. You don't do hard things, you don't push yourself, and then finding this community, and I've kind of had to unlearn all of that stuff that society programmed into me. And then even hearing you say at the beginning of the podcast, something I resonated so much with, dude, the more money my wife and I make, the less like we want to spend on, we just want to keep buying income, which buys freedom,
Mm-hmm.
which buys time. Like we don't really care. Like, I once told her, like, my happiness doesn't going to rely on if I wear a nice watch or not. It's just not going to ever matter to me. Like I'm going to wear this free bracelet that says be off
Yeah.
work, like
Yeah.
it's never going to matter. And like the nice cars and stuff, like I feel like society teaches you that's how you're happy. You attain this level of status, you attain this level of stuff. What was your kind of wake up moment, or have you always kind of been like that? Or maybe you can talk on that a little bit, or help somebody else who might struggle with that about, I feel like I've made it when I buy the Mercedes or the this or that, and like kind of a different
Yeah.
mindset around that.
Yeah. And just, I'm not even sure if you own a shirt at this point, man. So I get it. Like, but yeah, it's always been like that for me. It's just, I've always, um, just been easy to please, man. I grew up being outside, and that's what I always found joy in, and just found joy in trying new things. One of my favorite things is, well, I wouldn't say it's free, but it's got some upfront costs. I like backpacking, camping,
Yeah.
getting way out in the wilderness and just being alone, alone or with a few friends. And yeah, you got to pay for some gear up front, but then once you have that gear, it's free. You can go and do it time and time and time again. And the peacefulness, the stillness, just getting out there and getting in your thoughts and things like that. That's how I grew up. And then so as I transitioned into an adult who brought in income, it's just like I've always been the same way, man. Watches, shoes, shirts, brand names, they just bring me no joy. And often the opposite. It pains me to have to go buy a new pair of like jeans, like at TJ Maxx or something, spend $20. I'm like, man, this just brings me no, like, I know I need it. Like, it just brings me no, like joy though. Like, it doesn't bother me really, but it's just like never found joy in those sort of things, which I guess is a blessing because not everybody is naturally wired that way. So sometimes, and it can be a curse, right? Like sometimes I got to learn to let go a little bit and realize that spending a little money is fun. Traveling and going and doing things is fun. And so I had to kind of unlearn being too like grasping onto everything. So there's a fine balance, but yeah, just like the material things, I I don't know. I think it's just I feel like personally it's just that's a way to maybe fill holes in other areas of life. And I don't want to speak into what anybody else is doing, but that's just how I view it in a lot of instances. And it's hard. It's compensating for maybe lack of fulfillment somewhere else, and try to fill it with brand names and expensive things, cars, houses, things like that. Just never been for me, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay being the long-haired, long beard. Like I think my neighbors think I'm like unemployed, and like so it's just like it's funny. So I'm okay with that.
I get that a lot now from my neighbors when I was actually just walking by. This is like a month ago now or so, because I quit my job 7 months ago to just do the things I want to do and work from home, be around family. I was a few minutes late on this podcast because we got the 4 kids at the park this morning. It's Veterans Day, so we're off school, and we got all of them. It's corralling them all to get back. But I was walking my family by, and my neighbor stopped and said, "Ty, are you okay? I see you out during the day a lot now. What happened?" And I said, "Yeah, I quit the bank." And kind of, well, what are you doing now? And I kind of start to describe it a little bit. And this is an older lady, super nice lady. I love her to death. And she says, well, I hear they need some teachers. Maybe you can go get a job there or something. Like a lot of that older generation just doesn't understand. Like, no,
Yeah.
look, I know I can maybe make more money if I work my way up in corporate or whatnot, but that's just to me, having that freedom of time. And I think a lot of people, kind of what you alluded to, for 34, 35 years in my life, I chased the newest, man. I bought a brand new Mercedes-Benz in cash when I was, in my 20s, and all these things, just trying to fill these voids is exactly what you spoke about, resonated so much that I didn't really have any inner peace, and then I started realizing, like, if I can't be happy without a fancy car or a fancy watch or whatever else, other blessings that might come my way, there's a bigger problem, and so I would challenge anybody out there listening to be really mindful about that and ask yourself, like, day to day, what really makes you happy? For me, it's just being around my family, being around loved ones, having freedom of time, to not wear a suit or a shirt to work and not be in meetings and all these things, like that's what really makes me happy. Now, for somebody else, it might be different. You might chase certain other things, but I think it's just being really mindful around that.
Yeah. And like, I think in the way like our society is programmed now, we're so conditioned to just go, 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 go. And you really think about it, how often, and I do it a lot more now, but even when I was kind of stuck in the cycle, right? And maybe you were the same way. How often do we stop and really just think for 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, whatever it is, and just reflect and think about what is it that I want for my life? Like, what is it that my family wants for their life? Like, how can I do that as a provider? And like really just thinking about what makes you happy. Like, we don't even do that. It's just we're these dopamine hits. Like, we go to work for, if you commute traffic and things like this, it might be a 12-hour process, and we come home and we we eat dinner and we turn on Netflix and we, it's just like this cycle that never allows us to be alone with our thoughts. And like, I found that when you can get that quiet time, that's when things really started changing for me. It's just like, I don't want to live like this forever. And so like when you can frame out how you want to live, then you can start putting the plan together to execute it. And it's not for everybody. Like there's no shame in having and I don't even need to use the word shame, but it's just to each their own. Some people love their job and feel so fulfilled by doing it, and more power to them because they found where they feel fulfilled. But anytime I was an employee, man, I was just scheming my way out. So I was probably not the best employee,
I feel you on that, man. And yeah, I felt like I was in that cycle for a while. And then one of the exercises that got me out of it, it's pretty neat. I made a little YouTube video on it a couple days ago, but like, I call it my perfect day. And I remember doing this about a little over 4 years ago. And I just wrote down, if I had $10 million or whatever the number was, and I never had to worry about money, what would my perfect day look like? And then I kind of look back from 4 years ago, and it's almost exactly what I'm doing now. I get to wake up and go to the gym, hang out with my family, have interesting conversations with people I love, like this is this kind of thing. And so I think, like you said, pausing and hitting the brakes, and just being mindful and asking yourself, what do you really want? And dude, if it's to work your way up a corporate ladder and you feel fulfilled by that, that's awesome, man. Go for it with all your heart, But I think there are a lot of people, and a lot of people will be listening to this saying, yeah, I'm just kind of stuck in the rat race. Well, what do I do? What's a first step I can get out? And, you help people kind of get there and create this side income. What would be your first advice to somebody who kind of feels stuck and they say, I've been doing this for 10 years. I don't even know why I do it at this point. I just do it because that's what I do. What advice would you give to somebody like that?
I think it's just revisiting kind of what we just said, and it's reflecting inward first and saying, what do I want? What fulfills me? Okay, we find out kind of, and if you have to, I'm a big fan of writing. So write it down, what fulfills you. Find out how you can live a life that does that for the majority of your day, each and every day. And you start to create income off of that, whether, it be directly. And I found that just having time with my family fulfills me. So that's a hard thing to monetize, right? So it's like, all right, let's reverse engineer. And like, one of the ways you can have time with your family is if you're a good investor, and you can put your money and allocate in a way that creates multiples on what you're doing, right? So not only am I doing that, I realize that teaching people this is a valuable skill. And obviously, in order to teach this, you have to be good at it, because social proof is real. And if you're not good, like, you're going to get outed quickly, right? Like that's the beauty of being out in the open like this, right? Like, if you're good, it's going to get magnified, but if you're bad, it's going to get magnified. So there's risk in doing that, but for myself, it was like, okay, this is something I enjoy. Let me see how I can create some things and some monetizations off of this. So I always enjoy investing for my own personal self now, but working with people and getting them aligned all in a way that is beneficial to them is a great thing. So I think it's just reverse engineering from how you want your life to be. Okay. And then, what am I good at? What are my talents? What are my interests? How can I kind of create a life around that? And some people, it's starting a coffee shop. Some people, it's opening their own practice. Maybe they're a physical therapist, whatever it may be. I think it's just reverse engineering from what you want and then creating pathways that take you to that. And it's different for every person, but I think it all comes from refocusing on your desires and your dreams, and then being, having daily habits that take you closer to that, because until you start taking action, it's never going to happen. I spent years dreaming, but it doesn't manifest until you take action.
Yeah, man, it's just a daydream. Until you kind of get it on paper, it's just a daydream, right? That's what I say. And yeah, there's a lot of wisdom around that too, man, where I think whatever, I tell people this all the time, whatever your interests are now, man, in 2021, there is a way to monetize it. There's some dude right now that me and my daughter watched. She got obsessed with the Grinch for a while. So we were playing the Grinch. Yeah. He literally quit his job. He bought a Grinch suit for $60. He now goes to malls, dances around, makes these crazy videos. Dude's got 30 million followers now. And he makes like 50K a month being the Grinch. It's like,
wow.
There's a way to monetize any one of your passions. And I think you know, as you start to kind of get this, you call it fire, you know, a lot of people, the financial freedom movement. I think a
Yeah.
lot more people are waking up to this now and not really buying the lies that society teaches them. Hey, man, work for 40 years so you can enjoy your last 10. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, you know, and work for 45 hours a week for somebody else on their dream, you know, and that stuff
Yeah.
doesn't really make a lot of sense when you think about it. And like you said, when I started too, my goal is to get out of corporate. Me and my wife mapped it out when we started reverse engineering. We had 13 years down. And we're like, okay, if I can be out by 43, that would be amazing. You know, well, we ended up beating it by, 5 or 6 years.
All
But I
right.
think it just took one step in front of the other and being really
Mm-hmm.
mindful about even what you talked earlier. Like, I choose now, like, I really like golf, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I play golf, man, it's about 50, 60, $70. Clubs are expensive, memberships are expensive. I also really like tennis. So I play tennis a lot more than golf now. You know, I haven't
Yeah.
golfed in several years. I'm going to be really mindful of where my energy and my time go to get me towards those goals. I kind of think that everything I'm going to do is going to get me closer to those goals, you know? You just kind of
Yeah.
create your life like that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's just like there's so much out there. Like you said, you can create content around anything. Like if you like gardening, go out and start just filming yourself in your garden every day. Film the process, like see plants grow, show how to like anything,
Mhm.
anything. There's content around anything. I mean, some of the stuff I watch on YouTube, um, when it's off season here and I can't go backpacking, I'm watching people backpack and they got millions of subscribers. And for a brief moment, it puts you there. You're under the stars. You're under, you're by that campfire. And that can be done with anything because if you're interested in it, others are too. So yeah, I think it's just about leaning into, especially in this day and age. Not everything has to be digital, but it's so easy to start just sharing your interests over these digital platforms that other people can gravitate towards.
Even my wife, man, she just loves being a mom. It's like her favorite thing.
Yeah,
We got 4 kids now, dude. She just started like 6, 7 months ago, just making these cute little funny TikTok videos. She got like 25,000 followers now on TikTok.
that's awesome.
She's already monetized it. It's crazy. And it's a little stream, of course. So these things always start small, but like she said, the first day she made $8 from one of her videos. She's like, well, if I do this for 3 years, I can make $800, from a video.
That's
So
wild.
it's wild, man. There's so many ways to do it. One thing I noticed about you that I admire a lot is you're just a lifelong learner. That's obvious. You love learning new things. You love, that pursuit of knowledge. I also saw a recent tweet where you said, whatever I do, I go all in. I just
Yeah,
can't help it. I have a pretty addictive personality myself.
yeah,
A guy from Twitter just came last week and we met up and with a couple other buddies and played pickleball for the first time. I come home, I tell my wife, I'm quitting everything. I'm going to play pickleball. This is all I want to do. Like, that's how I am. Have you always kind of had that? And then do you have to choose your addictions pretty wisely, or can you kind of talk about that process a little bit?
yeah. I've always been that way. And yeah, you're right. It's a personality trait that can be very beneficial, and it can help you to be very successful in the things that you want to be successful in. It can also be to your own demise, right? So it's like one of those things, and it doesn't even have to be the bad things, right? You can be addicted to drugs or alcohol, things like that, that are obviously bad. But even just getting too addicted to the work process or to making money that you neglect family, friends, your wife, your kids, and destroy relationships, right? So, you know, I was very much that way. And I've been, my wife is awesome. And she has just taught me a lot about being a better friend, being a better person, being a more caring person. Not that I wasn't instilled with those things growing up, but just being so intentional about those things, checking on people, praying for your friends when they're going through stuff, calling them up and checking on them. So it's like having that balance, right? So it's like if I can mentally clock in for my day, even though I don't know if you work from home too, and we kind of do all this out of our house, right?
Yeah.
It's like mentally checking in, but then mentally also clocking out at a certain point and being like, hey, like this this research I'm doing on this best investment will still be there tomorrow. Getting a new client will still be there tomorrow. Like it's time to do other things. So I've always had an addictive personality, and having having self when you can realize that and hopefully try to control it. I think you can always do better. I can always do better about how I spend my time and things like that. But having this outlet now of kind of being on my own and self-employed helps get that out of the way. So I'm not punching a clock from 9 to 5 and then coming home and having this little window to try to compact it in. So it's a lot easier now than it used to be.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I remember when I was at the bank, but still trying to grow my own stuff. I remember like coming home and for a couple of weeks when I was starting to really kind of get traction on Twitter, I was really excited about it. You know, like, wow, I got 6,000 followers. You know, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember my wife like pulling me aside and in a loving way, being like, "Hey, like, why are you doing all this? It's to be with your family more." And so then like we had a thing. Okay, I'm gonna come home from work and not touch my phone for 2 hours, just be with the family, and then I can work on my stuff. And that's a constant struggle for me too, because I enjoy the things I do, man. I could work on this stuff 20 hours a day. I just like it that much. But you have to like be self-aware enough. And I love that you said your wife, like my wife's just my queen too, man. She makes me so much better. And we talk about this stuff a lot, you know. Hey, I want to, you hold me accountable. I want to be more mindful and present around my family. And so I have hours of the day now where my clients know I'm off limits. They can't text me. They won't get back for a couple hours. I'm just going to be alone or just with the family, you know, and I think that's important.
Yeah. There's such a power in just communicating and being one with your spouse, right? Like there's just if you don't have that, like everything else it's just on such a weak foundation, right? There's just such a power in having that strong relationship that you intentionally work on day in and day out. I don't know, it's hard to.
Yeah, I could be winning, like making the most money I've ever made, in the best shape I've ever made, great father, great relationships outside of it. And if me and my wife aren't clicking, I don't feel good. You know, like like everything needs to stop until my wife and I get back on the same page, because it's like nothing more important than that on fire home where you're both making each other better. It's such a blessed thing, man. And then if you kind of, you know, I know we're men of faith. We invite God into our marriage. We're praying that together all the time. And just such a powerful thing when you do it right. You know, you have that partner that's going to support you and make you better for your whole life. It's a cheat code, man.
It is, man. It's such a, maybe a not talked about thing, or not, you know, at least in the finance space, like we overlook a lot of these personal relationship aspects that like make all these things really gel, right? I'm not my best, like you said, I'm not my best self if I'm not on the same page with my wife. You know, so like having that foundation allows everything else to naturally flow. But if that's thrown off, it's hard to really get meaningful work done.
Yep. Yeah, I 100% feel you on that, man. One thing I wanted to talk on speaking of cheat code is the passive income cheat codes. And I saw a tweet of yours recently that really resonated. It's that a lot of people will focus on their brain goes everywhere. I want to create this affiliate marketing. Then they study that for 2 weeks and then they quit. And then I'm going to do this, and they study it and quit. Do you put like time limits on yourself? Hey, I'm going to dedicate at least a month to this, see where it goes, then I'll reassess and reevaluate. Because a lot of my friends, a lot of people I love, I'll see them, they get on these kicks, man. They'll buy 7 ebooks. They'll get really into it. And then you don't see them again, you know, after a week, or they try and grow social for a month and it doesn't go anywhere and they quit, you know. And can you kind of speak on that and your process around that?
Yeah. So I am a very like the tortoise versus the hare, right? I started Twitter coming up on 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years at the new year.
Nice.
And literally I did nothing but Twitter for the first year. Like I didn't do anything else. And then the second year, all I started doing was like building an email list. So I give these things like years to manifest. And I think that's how you win. And as I'm coming up on year 2, like day 0 through 365 was Twitter. Day 366 through whatever, you know, I'm not good at math past that. The next year has been like building up my email list. So now I have these 2 units that are growing together. And like my goal is year 3 is bringing the video aspect together, meaning like YouTube and like bringing more visual and audio content around financial topics, and going on to that passive income, right? Because YouTube makes money while you sleep and ad revenue is real and things like that. So it's like, you have to be willing to play the long game, because like I've been there, especially when I was younger, young 20s, still very much, you know, I'm still learning and growing, but a lot less mature than I am now. I wanted these quick fixes, right? I wanted to buy one stock in the market. I wanted to turn $1 grand into 10 grand and then 10 grand into 100 grand. and then 100 grand into 1 million. I'm like, it's just 4 trades. I just got a 10x 4 times and I'm a millionaire. It doesn't work that way. So it's like being willing to be okay with like, this may not make me any money for a year or more, but if I see the vision through, it should work, right? And it's constantly reevaluating along the way and making it a better experience. But like, I've been building an email list for a year and I've like not even really sold on it yet. Like I don't send salesy emails. Once or twice I have, but it's mostly just another way to stay connected with the people that follow me in a longer form written way. And then eventually I'll introduce, monetizing it and making, things like that. But it's like being willing to play the long game is ultimately what leads to freedom, right? I already have my YouTube strategy together. I got a mic on the way. I got like everything behind me is blank. This used to have a lot of stuff. Like I got lighting on the way. Like we're about to have a studio right here. It's not here yet. But, and in West Virginia, like the time just changed. I think the time changed everywhere, but like the time just changed. It gets dark at 5:30. Like I have all this time where it's dark now. And it's just going to be about, it'll be overwhelming the algorithm. So insane consistency is what gets you there. I'm going to be doing a video a day, every day through the winter. And it's just like a non-negotiable. So I'll shoot in batches, like, I'll sit down and block out multiple hours and shoot 4, 5, 6 videos a day. I'll batch out the editing the next day and probably outsource some of that. But it's just about, for me, consistency. And you have to be willing to show up for months to years on end when you're building your own things. And you're a testament to that too, dude. Like you've blown up on Twitter. The more, it's like a self-fulfilling cycle, right? The more active you are, the more consistent you are, the bigger it builds until you just have this massive hive and unit that you've created.
Yeah, it's consistency is definitely the cheat code that's undefeated, man. And it's, even when I coach some clients, man, their first month, maybe they'll lose 4 pounds and they'll be frustrated. Man, I put all this work in, I only lost 4 pounds. I'm like, okay, but 10 months later, you'll have lost 40 pounds. If you just do that, everybody wants that. I want to lose 30 pounds in the first month. Okay, no, like let's do it sustainably, create these systems and habits. And I think financial, building social, it's all the same thing, right? You're just taking these little micro steps every single day, working it out. I've been on Twitter now for 20 months. I haven't missed a day tweeting, and I'll never miss a day. It's just even days that I don't have my phone, I pre-write a few and fire them off, and anything you're going to do, you have to have that long-term vision about it, man. I love how you said that. It's a lot of wisdom around that.
Yeah. It's just like being unwilling to accept defeat. It's just like, I'm 6 months in, I haven't made money. I'll get a month 7. And you just continue to have that mindset. It's like, eventually you keep stepping up to the plate, you're going to crank one and you're going to hit one. And, doesn't matter how many times you strike out, as long as you're constantly reevaluating your process and like tweaking things to be better. If you're just unwilling to be defeated, then, it's going to work out in the end, in my opinion.
That's exactly right, man. I mean, when I first started trying to get out of the bank, it took me 6.5 years, to be honest, from day one to the end. But now, dude, I get to wake up and never go into an office again, and so I have from 37 to the rest of my life. And I think some people watching this, it might seem like the staircase is too big, but you just one step at a time, you start. Even investing, well, I don't have a lot of money to invest. Well, start with what, cut out a couple eating outs every month or that one bar night a month. And you got a couple $100 right there. Start there, wherever you are, just start small and it starts to compound. It starts to build. You start to realize you can buy your freedom, and anybody can. I'm convinced in the United States of America, almost anybody can if they put their mind to it.
Absolutely, man. We live in the land of opportunity. And it's beautiful that you can be the Grinch and go to the mall and make 6-7 figures a year. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's like, whatever you want to do, if you want to be the next Grinch, go be the next Grinch. Go out there and do it and make it interesting. Whatever you can make interesting and entertaining, it can be monetized. And whether that's through ads on a thing like YouTube or whether that's through whatever else it is, through education and teaching people something, there's just opportunity out there, and there's abundance of it. Like, me or you being successful takes nothing away from the person over here who wants to do exactly what you or I are doing. There's room. I know you probably do it. I send people to other financial client, like I send potential clients elsewhere all the time. If
Mm,
they don't align with, like, if I think somebody else could serve them better, it's like, hey, this is my homie. Talk to him. He can probably serve you a little better. I'm willing to help and like be a third party and answer any questions along the way. But I think he can serve you better. So it's just like being able to feed the other people around me that are in the same kind of, maybe pulling from the same client pool even. Like we're all better because of just the right mindset.
I totally agree, man. We just keep building a bigger pool instead of like fighting over what's already in there. You just build a bigger network, and then
Yeah.
there's always people. I've noticed that all the successful people I admire have that same mindset. Is they just want to help people, man. Whether they're paying me or not, or whether I can, I send client like, for instance, I'm not taking any new clients now till March. I'm just going to give myself a month or two off when this batch
Love it.
expires. And yeah, and I'm like, I've had 4 people. I just send them to Joey Devlin, send them to, like there's other
Yeah.
people that can help. Contact these people. They're great people too, and right. Like that's the coolest thing to me about our community is everybody wants everybody to win, man. And that's
Yeah.
pretty dope, man. You don't find that in a lot of places on earth where everybody else just competing. Like, nah, we're like, man, let's everybody win. Let's everybody get better.
Yeah, that's so true, man. It's just we all have so much opportunity and we all celebrate our victories along the way. And that's why like if you are trying to get into like something like this space, for those listening, it's so important. Just surround yourself with winners here. Learn from them, pay attention, like don't let like these thoughts of greed or jealousy come in. Like just think abundance and really take advantage of just what's in front of you.
Yeah, 100%, man. I couldn't agree more. All right. Well, I end every pod, man, with top 5 questions. I call them rapid fire
Okay.
questions. So I'm gonna fire out 5 questions. I wanted to get more into Bitcoin, but this is my first one. Will you come back on the pod at another time, maybe in a few months? We can get more into the Bitcoin, Ethereum world.
Yeah, of course, man, because it's about to get hot and heavy in the next few months. So we'll do it at peak season.
All right. I like that, man. Thanks. All right. My first top 5 question is, what do you think one Bitcoin will be worth 5 years from now, if you had to project it?
5 years from now, we are going to be in a high 6-figure amount. Rapid fire. So I'll give you my reason why in a quick response. Bitcoin is still such a small fraction of every other asset class. It's a $1.25 trillion market cap. All right. So when you put that beside of gold, which has a $10 trillion market cap, you put it beside bonds. The bond market is worth essentially around $200 trillion. So you think about the size, the bond market, we just got a 6.2% inflation rate for October. 5% bonds are losing people money. It's of my opinion that this high inflation environment isn't ending anytime soon, and that we're going to start seeing major outflows from fixed income markets into markets that outpace inflation. And you only have a few options, right? There's only so much real estate to go around. So people will allocate into real estate. And obviously they're going to allocate some in the market, but also Bitcoin has outpaced all of those areas in the last decade, a compounded annual growth rate of like 170% in the last decade. So even if we get minuscule 1 to 3% allocations from the outflows from the bond market alone, we're looking at multiples of what Bitcoin is priced at now. So that wasn't very rapid fire, but I love to get hyped about this.
Dude, it hypes me too, because I think we're so early in it still, man. It's like, I think in 5 years, people will still be like, it's not too early. You can still get into Bitcoin,
Yeah.
I really do, man. So it's, every month, man, I pay myself into, I have one or two clients that pay me in Bitcoin, and then I'm always trying to put a little bit extra in there, man.
Love it, man. That's awesome.
Just keep building. All right. What has been your number one biggest takeaway from all your interactions with Zach Hommel? What's he helped you the most with?
Man, he's just such a selfless person. He's always so giving of his time, his knowledge, his energy. And it's almost like the pay it forward mentality, right? Just Zach always being willing to have a conversation and listen. I paid him for coaching, things like that. And, we're at the point to where I would still pay him for coaching and still do. But also like, he's just so willing to just have a conversation, and we're friends. And it's like, he'll take time out of his day to pour into his people, which is really cool. And so I've just learned to pay it forward. So I've adopted that same mentality as people like you and I, who have learned a lot from Zach, have our own kind of people that look up to us and maybe seek us out for guidance in certain areas. So it's just almost trying to pay that forward, and like seeing the positive influence that he was in my life, let me go do that for other people and do my best to help them out and give with no strings attached, you know. So he's just a giving guy, and I appreciate everything he's done for me and just all that. So Dak, if you ever hear this, man, thank you.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. I think that's what he's taught me more than anything too. Is that guy's he's a beast, man.
Yeah,
I'd take
awesome.
a bullet for that guy for sure, man.
Same.
All right, what's the most important thing you do every single day? Part of your daily routine.
Who I think honestly, man, I think it's just prayer. Just staying connected and grounded. My faith is super important to me. It's still something that I'm actively working on, right? It's like, it's easy to get distracted and to like not read your Bible every day, which is something I'm trying to do better about. So it's just about prayer, trying to stay consistently in prayer and being thankful for what I have and never asking for too much, praying for other people. So I think that's just the foundation of my life, but also trying to do better at it because I have room for improvement, as we all probably do. But like trying to be even more intentional with that and being more spiritual. So I think that's where, if I start my day out that way and maintain that throughout the day, just stop and take a little time when I need it, the day is just so much better. And I just want to continue to put more of that into my life.
And I resonate with that fully. I feel like when you have that rock, it doesn't even matter what comes at life. Then it becomes an opportunity. What's God teaching me through this instead of why it's happening to me? And that's such a big, when you start with that foundation, everything else just becomes so much easier. And then it's all a gift. You know, you just kind of look at life like a gift, man. When you start to have that kind of grateful spirit, you know, I love that.
Yeah. And it's like, and just real quick, it's like so many times I've been at points in my life and just like kind of, you know, whether it be out loud or just in my head, ask God, like, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my family? Why is this particular thing going on? And it's funny how when you zoom out and you move forward from those situations, you can look back and you're like, that's why. Like, it's so always usually so clearly revealed why you go through certain trials and why you go through certain, you know, things in your life that are tests and that are hard and that are difficult. It's usually a pruning period, you know, and so I always encourage people, if you're going through it now, keep your head down, like stay in the word, stay in prayer, but then like be willing to be introspective or retrospective and look back and like, just like you can usually put the pieces together and you see the benefit that comes from those trials. So I always try to keep that in mind when I'm in that period of life when things are hard or more difficult.
That's huge, man. One of my favorite authors is John Ortberg. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he always says he prays, God, give me a mountain, because that's how I grow, you know. And I've really tried to adopt that every day. Of, hey, God, you know, you bring hard things in because that's how you're going to shape me. That's how I'm going to grow, you know.
And that's not an easy prayer to pray, right? It's not, but you're right.
Yeah. Okay. What's the best book you've ever read?
Ooh. So that's a tough one, man. So I'll start with business first, just because I try to segment my life in like business and then personal. The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Really good in just optimizing for guys like us who put a high priority on family and things like that. It was really a transformative book on how to do things in a time efficient manner. And so you're not working all the time, but things are still in motion moving forward. So I read that while I was taking my 1 week of vacation from corporate life one year on the beach. And I was just like, light bulbs were just like, I felt like the sun was my light bulb, right? It was that big of a bulb that came on for me. And it was just like, okay, like I have to re-evaluate everything I do. So I love that book. And then obviously personal books, it's cliche, but just like the Bible, but more specifically, maybe the book of Proverbs. It is just a wisdom filled book. And like, I'm confident that you can read a proverb a day every month and you take something new from it every single day, even though you've maybe read that particular chapter a dozen times or more. So Proverbs is a big book for me.
That's the original tweets, man. God was
Yeah.
the original tweeter, man. It's
Yeah,
a tweet form pretty
it's
much.
right.
You know? Yeah, Proverbs is amazing, man. I'm going through the Gospels for maybe like my fourth or fifth time in the last couple of years, and same thing you said, man. I have new takeaways every time where I'm like pausing, and I feel like it's speaking directly to me. Yeah, the Bible's it's amazing, man.
Yeah,
Sounds
it
cliche,
is.
but yeah, open your Bible, kids.
Yeah.
What would be one piece, we kind of covered this a little bit, but your best piece of advice for somebody brand new or intimidating to it? They're very intimidated by investing, or all this stuff sounds way too complicated. What would be your one piece of advice for somebody like that?
Yeah. So one, start with an amount of money that you can afford to lose, even if that's like $50. Like we're in an environment now where you can buy fractional shares, which just means you don't even have to have enough money to buy one whole share. You can buy 25% of a share. So if you want to own shares of Tesla and it's $1,000, you can buy $50 worth of a share. So start with an amount of money that you're okay losing, and then just repeat that. And then really um, pay someone to learn. Whether you get your foundation with some books and stuff, but I've always learned best when I get in front of an expert who I can ask pointed questions, right? I just, before I got on this call, Tyler, the reason I was like 10 minutes late is I was talking to one of my friends about crypto. DeFi Danny, he's on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
So he'd be a great guest for the podcast, by the way, if you ever want him on. But he was blowing my mind for like an hour straight on crypto. And this is something that I've been in forever. So it's like, pay people who know a lot more than you to learn, and you can ask direct questions and you don't have to Google and like interpret. So one, get some skin in the game, but then like you alluded to earlier, always be learning, always be evaluating, because these things change rapidly and are always changing. Technology is always changing. So that means what we're investing in is always changing. So just be willing to always evaluate and change your mind and pay people to learn.
That's great advice. And one of my previous guests, Marvin, said something that I thought was really along those lines. He said he's never met a multimillionaire yet that's built themselves, that hasn't had a mentor and hasn't paid for coaching and hasn't like that along the way. And I thought that was pretty powerful. I know what it's done for me in my life, and I'll never not have a coach or never not pay for these things now,
Yeah, same, man. And I've booked so many coaches on Twitter in different areas of life and business, and it's always, the ROI has always been worth it. I haven't had a bad coach yet.
Yeah, man. I always tell Zach I feel like I'm stealing from him, man.
Yeah.
I got in on him early too, man. Where I think he's $300 a call now, which is still stealing. But it used to be $100 a call, and he let me buy a bunch of them up front. So like,
oh yeah,
after
dude,
my
I
first,
remember those days too.
after my first call, I think I bought just like 7. I'm like, dude, I'm never not gonna want these. So can I just buy a ton of them?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, brother, I thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate you. Caleb Gregory. This is Tyromper's podcast, No Limit podcast. I think this is episode 10, maybe 9. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. But brother, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. You're a man that I really learned from. Again, I'm going to link all your info below. If anybody's really interested in the investing space, options, Bitcoin, check out Caleb, his group, Stock Pickers Club too. Any last words for the group, for the guests, my man?
Hey, just thanks for having me on, Ty. It was a blast. I always enjoy your energy, and it is a pleasure getting to connect like this, man, and feeling the energy in first person, dude. I love it. So thanks for having me on, and thanks for everybody who listened along.
My man, I'm going to be at one of you guys' retreats in 2022 too. I already told Zach. So
let's go. This sounds fun, man. I can't wait.
All right. Much love, brother. Thank you again. Everybody have the best day. Let's get after it.
See you guys.